Hello everyone and welcome back to Turkish Spotlight Secrets, your favorite corner where the whispers of the industry become the stories you can't stop thinking about. Settle in, because today's episode is one of those rare moments when rumor, romance, and reality collide with a bang. What you saw in the title is exactly what we're unpacking, the latest twist in the saga of Yaman and Demet Özdemir, a development that sent waves across Turkish showbiz and beyond on January 20, 2026. We've got the timeline, the hidden clues, the reactions, and the questions no one can put down. Trust me, this one has it all. Since the early days of their on-screen spark, fans have traced every glance and every absence between Can and Demet like detectives searching for answers. Their chemistry in front of the camera grew into a cultural phenomenon, and even when their careers took different paths, the fascination never faded. Over time, the two became icons in their own right. He, the globe-trotting leading man with a larger-than-life presence, she, the radiant star whose elegance and talent have crossed borders. And yet, beneath the spotlight, there was always that lingering possibility: what if the feelings people sensed were real, and what if they chose to embrace them openly? On January 20, 2026, the question seemed to find its answer. Social media lit up, timelines melted, and group chats went silent before exploding again with excitement. The whispers were not about a joint commercial or a new series. They were about a life decision. According to reports rippling through entertainment circles and carried by multiple Turkish outlets, Yaman and Demet Özdemir have taken a major step. The word spreading, carefully, then confidently, was engagement. Not speculation pushed by wishful thinking, but the kind of revelation that carries the weight of people who know. The kind of rumor that becomes news because it simply refuses to fade. From what we've gathered, the first sparks of confirmation came from close circles, voices that were discreet but consistent. Then came the images, the ones that stirred the fanbase into a frenzy. You know the type, candid, warm, the kind that feels like a glimpse through a window you didn't expect to find open. Were they taken at a private celebration? Perhaps. Did they look like a couple savoring something profound? That's exactly what the whispers say. And when posts began referencing a ring and a toast, the avalanche couldn't be stopped. Suddenly, January 20th wasn't just a date, it was a page turned. Of course, the mystery remains part of the magic. No official wedding date has been revealed, no invitation hints, no ceremony details that might spoil the suspense. Yet the absence of specifics has only deepened the intrigue. The story isn't just about a proposal. It's about two towering figures in entertainment deciding, quietly and without theatrics, to protect a moment that belongs to them while knowing the world would soon be watching. For years, they managed their personal boundaries with impressive grace. So when a step this big surfaces, the shock is doubled. It feels both unexpected and inevitable at once. It's worth remembering who they are as artists. Yaman's career has been a fireworks display of leading roles and global fandom, a path that has carried him from beloved series to international projects that showcase his range and charisma. Demet Özdemir's trajectory shines just as brightly, an actress and dancer whose performances tether emotion to elegance, whose presence makes audiences lean in closer. Together, their names don't just draw attention, they command it. If the engagement is indeed reality, it doesn't merely unite two people. It entwines two star-studded worlds, merging fan communities that have long watched their journeys with hope and admiration. Naturally, the internet responded like only the internet can. Within hours, threads multiplied. Old clips resurfaced like artifacts, analyzed frame by frame as if each look or laugh had been a prophecy. Fans divided themselves into camps of jubilant celebration and thoughtful caution, some cheering as though it were their own love story, others whispering, "Let's wait for their words." And yet the prevailing emotion was joy, a collective feeling that something tender and overdue had finally arrived in daylight. The sheer scale of the reaction turned private symbolism into public fireworks. But let's talk implications, because fame doesn't move without ripples. What does this shift mean for their careers? Will they pivot toward collaborations designed to capitalize on the moment, or keep their professional tracks distinct to safeguard what's personal? There's a case to be made either way. A joint project would be a cultural event, a high-stakes reunion of talent and narrative that could redefine their legacies. And yet, preserving autonomy might be the very thing that ensures the relationship remains strong, protected by the healthy distance between work and home. It's too soon to predict, and that uncertainty is part of the magnetism. The wedding speculation is its own universe. If you were to imagine the ceremony, would it be intimate and candlelit, hidden among olive trees with only the closest confidants present, or would it be a carefully choreographed spectacle that nods to the legend they've become? Picture a guest list sprinkled with friends, family, and a handful of co-stars who shared early chapters with them. Picture decor that whispers elegance rather than shouts extravagance. Or flip the vision entirely. A modern fairy tale staged for a world that has already claimed their story as part of its own. Both images fit, and both feel somehow true. What makes this moment so resonant is the arc behind it. Their relationship, whatever shape it took at different times, has always lived in the space between certainty and wonder. The public saw flashes of unity, then stretches of separate growth, and each phase felt authentic. Where some stories burn out under relentless scrutiny, this one matured in the quiet, emerging only when it had something new to say. That, perhaps, is the clearest sign of strength. When a bond survives shifting seasons, it tends to be the real thing. If you're wondering about the official word, you're not alone. As of now, there's no joint statement spelling out every detail. But the reporting is aligned across respected outlets, and the pattern is hard to ignore. The tone of the coverage is careful, measured, almost protective. It reads like the industry itself understands the stakes, how fragile a private celebration can be when carried by public air. January 20th, 2026, therefore, stands as both an eruption and a vow of restraint, an acknowledgement that yes, something happened, and no, we won't break it by picking it apart. Fans who have been there since the early days can practically draw the map of how we got here. The early interviews filled with playful energy. The red carpets where a glance said more than a quote ever could. The solo projects that expanded their artistry and forced the world to see them as individuals first. And then the reunions, fleeting or rumored, that reignited a light never fully extinguished. In that context, an engagement doesn't feel like a twist. It feels like a continuation, one chapter finally catching up to the promise written in the first pages. The question now is how they will choose to share what comes next. We've seen some couples guard every detail, surfacing months later with a surprise album of memories. We've seen others let fans in as milestones arrive, trusting them to receive the story with grace. Either path would suit them. The careful curation of their private lives has always been thoughtful rather than evasive. If they speak, it will be with intention. If they stay silent, it will be for safekeeping, not secrecy. Let's not overlook the industry effect. A union like this doesn't just stir hearts, it reshapes calendars. Filming schedules, press runs, endorsements, all of it will orbit around a personal timeline now, at least for a while. And yet, there's a universe where the two convert this energy into the project fans have dreamed about for years. Can you imagine the intensity of a new series headlined by both of them after this reveal? The stakes would be astronomical, the anticipation almost impossible to manage. But that's the magic of star power, it turns impossibility into a dare. There's also a lesson here about patience. For so long, people tried to decode their silence, to map meaning onto moments that resisted definition. Now we see that time was not a void, it was a forge. Love doesn't always demand a stage. Sometimes it grows best in dimly lit rooms where only two voices matter. Sometimes it chooses a date like January 20th, 2026, to step outside, smile at the noise, and keep walking hand in hand. So where does that leave us tonight, here at Turkish Spotlight Secrets? Exactly where we love to be, in the electric space between confirmation and revelation, watching a love story breathe in real time. We'll be tracking every credible update, parsing the images, and listening for their voices. We'll celebrate the romance without overstepping the intimacy. And when the next chapter arrives, whether it's a statement, a photograph, or a quiet acknowledgement woven into an interview, you'll hear it here first, wrapped in the care their story deserves. Before we close, a word to the fans who turned this into a global moment within hours. Your joy was a chorus. Your restraint, when it appeared, was a gift. You reminded the world that star-crossed can also mean steadfast, that celebrity romance isn't just spectacle. It can be a mirror that reflects our own hopes back at us. If Yaman and Demet Özdemir are indeed engaged, then today is not merely gossip. It's a milestone that belongs to them, witnessed by all of us, remembered by a date that now belongs to pop culture history. We'll leave you with the heartbeat of the story, two people who built careers that stand on their own, now standing together, with a future none of us can fully predict but all of us can't help imagining. January 20th, 2026, is already etched into the fandom's calendar. What comes next is theirs to reveal. And when they do, we'll be right here, lights on, mics warm, ready to tell it the way it deserves to be told. Thank you for spending this moment with Turkish Spotlight Secrets. Tell us how you felt when you first saw the news. Did you expect it? Did you secretly always know? Do you think they'll keep things intimate, or let the world in a little more this time? The comments are yours, the conversation is open, and our eyes are on the horizon. If you want more stories like this, you know what to do: subscribe, share, and keep your notifications on. The next chapter could drop any minute, and you won't want to miss it.